Good afternoon. Hope you're having a great day. In this week's Torah portion, we read the verse that tells us the biblical obligation, Shalosh Pamim Bashana, 3 times a year, Yeirah Kol Zechorcha, each one of you have to go to see God in the Holy Temple. You shall be seen. And it's a biblical commandment, and in the times of the temple, there was a pilgrimage from all over Israel to Jerusalem on the day of the holiday, Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. In fact, my father tells me always that he remembers as a little young child. He was born in 1940. And he tells me as a little young child, they lived in Jerusalem. They didn't pray at the Kotel every day, but for the holidays, he remembers clearly, vividly going with his father to visit the Kotel before 1948, before Jews weren't allowed to go there until 1967 when we recaptured the Temple Mount and the Kotel. But it's interesting because the word Yeira'eh means you shall be seen. That we go 3 times a year to the Holy Temple and to our shuls now that become Mikdash Ma'at like the temples, Yeira'eh, to be seen by God. But the rabbis in the Talmud tell us that the same Yeira'eh also could mean Yireh, to see. That we go to Jerusalem to be seen by God, but also to see God's glory in the Holy Temple. But there's something the rabbis tell us, that in the time of the temple, the way it worked was when people came for a pilgrimage for the high holy days to Jerusalem, they would go in from the right and they would exit from the left. But someone who was in his year of mourning would go in from the left, counterclockwise, and go out from the right. And the reason the rabbis tell us, it gave people opportunity. If you saw someone coming the wrong way, you realized they were in mourning. And you would be able to comfort them and give them the mourner's comfort. And therefore the word Yeira'eh means to be seen by God. Yireh means to see God. But it also means to see each other. For community. To be one. To be able to understand someone's joy. Understand someone's pain. Listen to them. And be able to connect as a community. Yesterday we had a remarkable event. Liana, who's one of the most popular tour guides in Israel, she's taken senators and congressmen and community leaders, CJP. And since October 7th, unfortunately, business has not been well, of course. There's been no tours. And she's been in America on a little tour. And we were asked if we wanted to host her. And we would love to host her and help out in keeping her job going. And one of our community members, Shoshana Farb, offered to host it for us. And we had the event, and yesterday she showed up. The woman I was dealing with was a woman, Wendy. Wendy was the connection. And Wendy was emailing me, and then yesterday at noon, Wendy shows up to Shoshana's house together with Liana. And I introduced Wendy to Shoshana, and I say, this is our host. And she says, where are you from? Montreal? She says, I'm also from Montreal. She says, what's your maiden name? And in 2 minutes, they found out that they were actually second cousins. These 2 people, Wendy and Shoshana, were second cousins. And in fact, when I was speaking to Shoshana today, she told me the remarkable story that her grandfather was from Latvia. And her grandfather was on a boat, and they came to Newfoundland in Canada, and he literally jumped off the boat, so he shouldn't have to go back to Latvia. And this family, they had this business, I think it was a retail business, and they took him in to work in the family business. And in any case, he ended up marrying one member of that extended family. And here Wendy is telling Shoshana she remembers going to Passover Seder with Shoshana's grandfather. And the silver dollar, he gave her the coin. I'm not remembering the details myself, but it was remarkable. Suddenly, Shoshana and Wendy, who lived both in Boston, recognized that they're second cousins. And today, Shoshana told me she met her other second cousin, Wendy's brother, whose child goes to GAN together with her son, and they play on the same basketball team. I mean, the story of Jewish geography in the small world we're in. But what made me think about this was, because that's what community is about. If not for Shoshana wanting to host that event at her home, she would never meet Wendy and know that her cousin lives here. and she wouldn't be able to make that connection. So when we say that the idea of the temple was to be seen by God and to see God, it was also to see each other, to see community. And I always tell people when they say, Rabbi, I'm not really interested in shul, I don't want to pray so much. I say, listen, it's amazing to pray and we need to connect to God, but shul is not just about praying to God, it's about connecting with community, with other Jews who think alike, who have the same ideas. And if you think about it, since October 7th, the most remarkable thing, how many Jews have been going to Israel to take visits. One of my friends, a colleague rabbi, told me that's owning his community, said to him, Rabbi, usually we take tour guides. I took a war guide. And you think about it, anywhere in the world, in Ukraine, do people come visit during a war? No one comes to visit during a war. But the Jewish people, Shalosh Pamim Bashana Yeiraya, we want to see each other, we want to be there for each other, and we want to show empathy and feeling to all those suffering. And therefore it's been remarkable to see so many of our friends go visit Israel even in a time of challenge and let them know, I'm here, we're one community, we want to see you, we want to connect to you. And that's the story of the Jewish people. Years ago I told you the story about the chief rabbi of London who was speaking to one of the Peel Commission people, and they was telling them about Israel and so important, and he was lobbying him, and he says, why don't you just go build a country in Uganda? And he says to him, let me ask you a question. He says, last Sunday was Mother's Day, did you go visit your mother? He says, sure. He says, and how long did it take? He said, it took an hour across London, even though it's a couple of miles, a lot of traffic. He says, I don't understand, why would you travel an hour through traffic to visit your mother when there's so many mothers that live down the block from you? And he looks at him and he says, what do you mean? But they're not my mother. And he says, that's the point. Our land, our homeland is Israel. Our people are the Jewish people. That's our community. And when the Torah says, Shalosh Pamim Bashana Yeira'eh, we don't just come to Jerusalem to see God and to be seen by God, but it's to see each other, to have empathy, to understand each other. And that's why we have shul and community and events. So I encourage you always to get involved, to see each other, because you might have a story like Wendy and Shoshana had. And if you don't, you'll meet someone new in the community and you'll be able to connect with another Jew who loves the Jewish people, who loves Israel, and who loves their community. God bless you. Have a great